Hi, everybody, and welcome to Pebble People, episode 8. I'm super excited today to have one of our own, Jack, from our sales team, join me. And we're going to be talking about all things Pebble in terms of just getting to know the company a little bit, the company culture, why we sell, what we sell, and a little bit more about the product. So let's just get straight to the point. Hi, Jack. How are you?
Hi, Sabine. I'm very well, thank you.
Great.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. I would love to start off by asking you a little bit about yourself. Why did you take this job? What have you been doing since you joined Pebble? And maybe a little bit about the culture of the sales team.
Sure. So I took this role as I'd always typically worked in startups, and I feel it's the biggest opportunity where you can create something and you can have a big impact in an organisation as well as a team. I was very lucky to probably go from football class to dance class to any type of activity, and kind of was probably, my parents would have loved something like it, so I could really empathise with what a cool product it was.
Can you, if you rewinded to that time, can you think of like what were some of the biggest challenges back then for your parents in doing all of these activities?
Absolutely. I think it wasn't the challenge for the parent, but also mainly for my grandparent, who they would take me to all different classes. I would end up probably in wrong classes at wrong dates and times. So that was something I think, I really could see benefit of having this overarching platform for them. There was tremendous value for that.
And so obviously when you joined, we were really focused on that marketplace, making sure that parents could find and book activities on our platform. And we've since really become more of a feature-led software that we really solve problems for our activity suppliers. And as a result, then parents can also book really well on our platform. So you've seen that evolution. What's some of your favorite features right now on Pebble, would you say, when you look at it?
I think if I go right back to the beginning, it was the bare necessities that was needed. And we've now evolved as an organisation to be able to produce market-leading features. And the most recent is the discounts and the ability to track them, see the redemptions. It's by far the best I've seen. And it's already provided tremendous value to our customers. And it's just been received so well.
Great.
So for sure, the discount codes.
Can you give me an example of where you feel like it solved a problem for a customer, just to put it in context for everybody?
Sure. So for us, we hear the biggest battle is getting bums on seats and getting people actually in the class. And a discount code could really, firstly, we've seen it already increases traction to the listing. So as long as, say, an activity provider or one of our customers is shouting about it, it creates excitement. And then for a parent, they feel like they're getting a really good deal. And what it does is it creates excitement, it gets bums on seats, and it gives an introduction to maybe a customer to help maybe make that final decision. So, and that can work from anything from a holiday camp. So picking 3 days, putting 3 days in your basket and getting 10% off, for instance. Or it could just be a gesture of goodwill, or it could be 10% off your Tuesday classes. There's so many different value offers that it could bring.
Or maybe a seasonal one, right?
Yeah. Christmas, Black Friday, of course, is probably going to be huge on Pebble. So there.
Makes sense. Great. And so tell me a little bit more about the sales team at Pebble. How is it structured? What do you guys find most motivating? What's the culture like? I'd love to, I know, but I'd love to sort of give an insight to our viewers.
Yeah, I would say culture-wise, it's people that want to help. And we know that we have a really good product. And ultimately, we want as many people to use that product as we can. So from that, I think it reduces the sales, quote unquote, philosophy, but actually it's just a team of people that have something and we almost want to share it. It's a bit like, for instance, when we have a great referral program and the referrals that come to us, people want to share what they have. And I feel like this is what we do in the sales team.
And how important is word of mouth for you guys?
It certainly helps. Before it was, who is calling? Sorry. Where are you calling from? And now it's, I've seen you. Or it's, so-and-so uses you. Or this company mentioned how great you were. And that has made a tremendous impact to us. And it shows that all of the hard work that we have put in, all of the hard work that the marketing and growth teams have put in has come to fruition now, because people are, they have heard about us. However, there is a long way to go, and we want to be even more well known, of course. But
Fair enough.
yeah, it's certainly improved.
Right. And in terms of referrals, how important are they also? Because I know that we always are very successful in the marketing team when we send referral programs and when we incentivize them. But I'm sure that as sales, you also find some value in people referring, or do you have any success stories you can share?
I think the biggest success story maybe isn't for us, but it's more for the customers that use us. And what we found was that when speaking to our customers, there's a company called the Institute of Children's Activity Providers, ICAP, and they produce a study, and it was, what percentage do you think of your parents come from referrals?
Right.
And people were thinking it was maybe 10 or 20%, but actually that number was 50%.
Wow.
So it highlights the importance of word of mouth referrals that our activity providers need.
Right.
And how do we do that? Now we can start creating discount codes, and it's a form of marketing that often gets overlooked because people want to create something maybe for Instagram or for TikTok. I feel by working on your referral program, it's going to really boost numbers because it's almost one of the easiest sales that you can do because it's someone that's had a great experience and wants to share that great experience.
Okay. And what about activity providers referring Pebble to other activity providers?
Yeah, it's my favourite example is we work with a large franchise called Active Future.
Mm-hmm.
Active Future have 20 plus franchises throughout the UK, and they're a friend that also runs some sessions runs 3v3 UK. That's a 17-site license group, and it was referred over to Pebble, and we've had tremendous success with the both of them because we can actually then start to really understand what they need from a software, and we can actually improve it together rather than everybody just working in silos for the future of the platform.
Got it. So I'm thinking a little bit about activity providers. They're actually really busy. They're running a club. They're looking after kids, which is always, not straightforward. What would you actually say to them if they said, look, I'm curious about Pebble. I just don't have the time to switch or to actually get on a demo?
Yeah, we then have to phrase, why are they busy? If it's childcare, that's something that we, have to respect. But for a lot of the time, people are spending hours per week reconciling payments, communicating with parents, sending reminders, sending follow-ups. And I feel that if we can actually reduce that, if they can find 30 minutes, actually they could ultimately save themselves a lot more time in that week. For instance, yesterday I spoke with a football club. The guy spends 3 hours once a week reconciling payments, and by jumping on a call for 30 minutes, what we can actually show straight away is how quickly every payment can be reconciled, how then reminders are sent, how receipts are sent, and so on.
Right. So actually, that time that they said they don't have is time that if they sacrificed a little bit to get on Pebble, they could actually save in the long run.
Totally. And Pebble will know when there's a really great customer for us. And when we look and spend a lot of time trying to reach out and finding them, when they see the benefit, it makes a decision so incredibly easy. So the biggest battle for us is showing how good our product is to activity providers.
And then, so if somebody can't jump on a demo during, sort of normal working hours, what can you do for them in that case? Because, you need some flexibility, right?
I think if you look at where Pebble has got to today, it's been built on feedback from activity providers. And if that means that I have to jump on a call over the weekend or, slightly earlier or slightly later, the feedback is the most important thing that we can grow off. And ultimately, we want Pebble to be in the hands of as many people as we can get it. So that's no problem for us.
Okay, so you're flexible in terms of demo times or whatever?
Absolutely.
Okay. And why is there still a demo, in showcasing Pebble? Tell me a little bit about what happens during a call like that, just to give sort of people a taste of what they what they're missing out on by not jumping on a call with you.
What I would say is we would typically we would understand that process of where they're actually struggling. If they don't have many problems with sending automations of emails, there's no point covering that, right? Because they know how to do it. But if they're spending a lot of time building their classes, getting them into the hands of providers or their parents, getting them into the schools or building QR codes, that's where we can spend our time. because that's the pain that's going to be really affecting their day-to-day. And ultimately, we want activity providers to get their heads out of the weeds from fighting all the little fires and actually seeing the bigger picture, and how by taking a step back, you can actually take 2 steps forwards pretty quickly, because there are softwares that ultimately save you lots of time.
Right. I mean, I think they save time, but they're also a pleasure to use. And I think that's super important too, that we get a lot of feedback of people saying, not only has it saved me time and energy, but I also find it quite, nice to look at and easy to use, which is, super, super important in this day and age, right?
I think that there's been this creation of this, everybody wants something straight away and it has to be easy. And if it's not that, then all of a sudden it feels like this huge problem. And we know the life of the activity provider, we spoke about it earlier, they might have a brainwave at 9 p.m. Actually, they need to be able to go into their account and they need to be able to manage their classes, their listings, their registers instantly without having to ask a question. And that's where the real benefit of an ease of use platform can be, because it's the less time that they're spending thinking, oh, how do I do this? It's just one click and it's done. Got
it. And just thinking a little bit about success stories. Tell me a little bit about, a success story that what's your favorite success story, basically?
I have so many.
I know.
I would say when we first launched, there was a company called Kids Fit Club. They took a bit of a gamble on us. Lucas, he came into the office, he met us, and seeing his growth now to running numerous summer camps, lots of different sessions in the week, I feel like we've been on that journey with him. He's, been incredibly grateful for us, and we're incredibly grateful for him. So that was more in the junior part of our business. And then we started to look at more franchises and the benefits we can provide franchisees. So that's the day-to-day support, becoming part of their tech stack, helping franchisees set up, but the franchisor giving them access to data, knowing how their parents book, why they book, when they book, the device that they use. So they can really start to create campaigns and ultimately improve their franchise by looking at data. So I'm going to have to call out Hannah of Boogie Beat. We still have the Giggles. It's a teddy bear who's sat in our office still. Even when we moved, it's still kept like the same place in the new office. So
my dog's not allowed to get anywhere near
absolutely no way. Yeah, Pip, stay away. And then as we've now progressed, there are some really large organisations of franchises that use Pebble, be that Active Future, and there's a few now that maybe I can't mention, but there's some very large franchises coming onto Pebble.
That's exciting. So seeing sort of the journey of, I guess that's what's so great about the sector, right? You see the journey of a smaller company that has grown, and Pebble's been on the journey, and then you then look at sort of a big franchise group and how they're extracting value from the platform too. Sort of the best case scenario, right?
That is why we are here, to give time back to providers to grow their business. I feel we speak with so many providers that got into football coaching because they loved football. They got into dancing and built their dance school because they love dancing. And now it's how can we turn that into a fully fledged business? And that's when having a system in place, having automations, reminders, allowing your staff to easily access registers, allowing for your parents to book on. They can book on through guest checkout, book checkout via their phone. These are the things we want to build and give the tools for an activity provider to grow.
Got it. So you speak to a lot of activity providers, right? And you attend events and et cetera, et cetera. So have you got a prediction for what sort of things activity providers need to look out for in the coming year, or like any trends that you can predict or that you foresee? It'd be great to pick your brain on that.
I think we need to start putting an emphasis on those that maybe don't book, because you can have a booking widget on your website and you may have to create an account, you may have to add your children to a basket, and then you can make a booking. And ultimately that could take 10 minutes. And when you're a parent, you don't have this time to make that booking. So there needs to be an emphasis on the speed of booking. It's that experience that you would have on any marketplace where you can click what you want and then, hey, presto, it arrives maybe outside your door the next day, or you can see pictures. And for me, the ability for parents that maybe have heard about you, going into that referral the 50% word of mouth that we spoke of earlier. I feel for them, we need to display pictures. We need to have parental reviews. We need to make it as clear and concise that every question's answered without it making it feel like it's this laborious checkout process.
Right, because that's what you're seeing right now and you want to sort of strip it down. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so ultimately there's parents that are using larger softwares, be that Ubers, be that Airbnbs, Booking.coms, that can book instantly. And then all of a sudden when it's not like that, it feels like it's a huge headache. And we owe that to parents to give them that flexibility and the ability to book when they want, how they want, because ultimately that will increase the activity providers' bookings.
Right. So what you're saying is that there needs to be a shift in the way activity providers think about, okay, I need to manage my admin and I have all these activities that I can do, to thinking what is going to make my parents' lives easier. The
Absolutely.
People that are abandoning and are not booking because they're getting frustrated, or that you're never getting back to them because, sort of thinking about the experience you're delivering.
The experience of Pebble is very flexible. Do you run subscriptions? Do you run blocks, single sessions? Is it holiday camps? And it's about giving that flexibility to that parent is, for me, the most beneficial future-proof plan that we can give to activity providers to let them ultimately increase their revenue. That's because increasing a revenue means more children doing your activity, more children happy, away from devices and doing things that, doesn't contribute to growth. And that's ultimately what we want.
Cool. All right. Jack, it's been a pleasure. Is there anything else that you want to add that we haven't covered before we...
I just think that the most exciting thing for me is how much Pebble grows. So if you are part of Pebble, I think you're going to be on a very exciting journey for the next, for just forever as we continue to grow and develop. But for those maybe that have not seen the product, I really would recommend spending or finding 30 minutes of your time, because we really will provide so much value to you.
Great sales pitch.
Oh, thank you. Sign up now.
So, Jack, when you hear feedback, whether it's on a demo or from current users of Pebble, what are some of the things that people really like about the platform?
I think having a great software that's very easy to use is one thing, but there needs to be a human element too. Our activity providers are typically speaking with children all day. So to have the opportunity to speak with your customer success manager, who is your advocate, who wants you to be successful on the platform, I think that's not why people come, but it's definitely the reason we are the highest rated software for children's activity providers, for sure. So
the human element definitely is something that people, sort of enjoy and value. I think that's a Pebble culture. I think people buy from people. That's why we have a very personal sales team. That's why we have an emphasis on speaking with people to understand what they want all the way through, because I understand their pains. I will then feed that back to their customer success manager. They will then frame their whole onboarding journey about how we can actually really solve the pain that this activity provider is going through. Great. So it feels like it's very customized and personal for that provider, right? Yeah, we can't have the same cookie cutter approach. I've probably sat on 500 demos now since my time here, and not one activity provider runs their activity the same. So it has to be personal, it has to be customized, and it has to be relevant to what they need. Got it. Okay. And so I'd love to dig in a little bit into macro trends affecting the industry. I definitely have heard lots of different activity providers talk about growth, people wanting to grow their business, which is understandable. But I've also heard, lots of talk around after-school clubs and after-school care, etc. What are some of the macro trends you think are very relevant for providers today? Well, we know from 2026, each school across the UK has to offer a form of wraparound care, which is a breakfast club or after-school club. Mm-hmm. That can be anything from homework clubs to football classes to any activity that constitutes allowing for a child to stay after school. And that's where we're seeing a lot of our activity providers who started maybe a session on Saturday now moving into this wraparound care facility, because a school doesn't have to offer it. They can hire in. And that's where
people and activity providers need support now, and how do they take that next step? You have to go down an Ofsted route, which is a minefield in itself to navigate. So this is where we can provide support to people looking to get into it, maybe people that are in there already, because then once you're in, it's how can I allow for software to help with that? So is that allowing for check-in, check-out? Who is it being checked out by? Is there a password on collection? Do we allow for tax-free childcare vouchers, for instance? All of these things that can ultimately allow for a wraparound care business to fully flourish within the next couple of years.
Okay, so it sounds like there's going to be a higher need for wraparound care generally, both from because schools now have to offer it, so they're going to be looking for activity providers, and activity providers need to do things a little bit differently. And so can they use Pebble to be able to run their after-school clubs?
Absolutely. We know that the government has given grants out of up to £17,000 to schools to hire this in, and then that can be used to bring in a multi-sport club. It could be used for a homework club, and that's how an activity provider can use Pebble to fit into this. And even over the last couple of months, we've seen just as many wraparound care providers sign up as we've seen holiday camps, as we've seen subscription-based payment models. So there's a lot happening, but this is only the start of it.
Right, okay. Cool. Thank you very much.